All right, this is Simplifying Radicals Part 2. Make sure you watch Part 1 before this one. Part 1 was adding and subtracting. This is multiplying. So just based on this little diagram, you may be able to figure out exactly how we multiply two terms that have radicals. We start by multiplying the outside numbers, if there are any, and then we multiply the inside numbers, the radicands. The outside numbers we call the coefficients. We cannot multiply an outside number with an inside number. Only outside numbers can be multiplied together, and then only inside numbers can be multiplied together. So once you multiply them, we will simplify the radical if we can, using a factor tree. So let's take a look at number 1. We're going to start by multiplying our outside numbers. So 6 times 3 gets us 18. And then we'll multiply our inside numbers. That's going to be the square root of 10. And so we can check it. We can see if we can simplify 10. We'll do a factor tree. So two numbers that multiply to give me 10. I can use 5 and 2. And it looks like we can't actually break this down anymore. Those two are prime. They're both singles. If we don't have any couples, we can't actually simplify this any further. So we're going to have to just leave it as 18 square root of 10. Okay. Number 2, let's do the process again. We're going to start by multiplying our outside numbers. So 4 times 3 gets us 12. Then we'll multiply our inside numbers. 12 times 6, that's 72. And now that radicand, 72, that's a pretty big number. So surely we can simplify that using a factor tree. So you could use 8 and 9, you could use 2 and 36, or 6 and 12. Doesn't matter. We'll all get the same answer in the end. So I'll use 6 and 12. And then we can keep simplifying this. I could use 3 and 2, and 4 and 3, and 2 and 2. So we want to circle pairs and underline our singles. And keep in mind, we only care about the numbers at the ends of the branches. So I don't care about the 4, the 12, or the 6 here, because those aren't at the ends. So here's a pair. Unfortunately, I made the 3's really far apart, but those are a pair. And then we have a single 2. So no matter how you did your factor tree, you should still have a pair of 3's, a pair of 2's, and a single 2. Okay, so remember, couples go out. We have 2 couples. So we're going to multiply them together. So 3 times 2 gets us 6. And then this single 2 is going to go under the radical. But that's not our final answer, because remember, we really were doing 12 times the square root of 72. We simplified the square root of 72 to be 6 square root of 2. We still need to multiply it by 12. So really this is 72 square root of 2. Notice I didn't do 12 times 2 because I can't multiply an outside number with an inside number. I can only multiply the outside numbers together. So that's our final answer. Okay, for number 3, you'll notice we only have one outside number, or so it looks like that. If we don't see something, a coefficient, we know that it's a 1. And that's not to be confused with the index. If we don't see an index here, we know it's a 2. But for everything we're working with here now, simplifying radicals, they all have an index of 2. These are all square roots. Okay, so we're going to multiply our outside numbers together. 4 times 1, that's 4. Then we'll multiply our inside numbers together. 2 times 50 gives us 100. Okay, and so we can simplify the square root of 100. It's actually a perfect square. It's one that we should have memorized. You may have memorized. It's just 10, because 10 times 10 gives us 100. And notice it's not the square root of 10, it's just, the whole number 10. And if you forgot that, you could always do a factor tree on the 100 and you'll still get that answer of 10. And then I'll just bring my 4 down. This is really 4 times 10, which is 40. So that one's kind of a quick one to do. If we have perfect squares like that, it goes by a lot faster. Okay, so for number 4, it doesn't look like I have any outside numbers. They're really just ones, but 1 times 1, just 1. Don't really have to multiply those outside parts. So we're just going to multiply the inside parts. 10 times 60, it's a pretty big number. It's the square root of 600. So that's a lot to simplify. Make sure you write small. And again, you may want to pause these videos and try some on your own, or you can keep watching. So let's see, for 600, we could use 6 and 100. Or you could have done 302. A lot of different ones. Let's see, the 6, I can do 3 and 2. The 100, I could really use 10 and 10. And I could keep going on the 10s, or since I have a pair, I can stop right here and circle that pair. If you decide to keep going on them, you'll still get the same answer, but this is just a shortcut. Once you have a pair, you can just circle them and stop. And so these are singles here. So the square root of 600, we have 10 on the outside and 3 times 2 on the inside. Remember, if I have more than one single or more than one couple, we multiply them. So we get 10 square root of 6. All right, so for number 5, let's see. There's no coefficient here, so it's understood to be a 1. So 3 times 1 gives us 3. You may need a calculator for this. 18 times 3 is going to give us 54. And that's a pretty big number. I think we can simplify that. So two numbers that multiply to give us 54, we can use 9 and 6. 9 breaks into 3 and 3. And there's a pair already. And then 6 breaks into 2 and 3. Those are going to be singles. Right, so couples go out. My 3 goes out. Singles stay in. I'll have to multiply those together. And that's not our final answer yet. We're still multiplying this all by 3. So I have to bring that 3 down. And this is really 9 square root of 6. Okay. For number 6, same process. We'll multiply our outside numbers first. 1 times 3 is 3. Then we'll multiply our inside numbers. That's 12 times 10. That gives us 120. It's a pretty big number, but we can break that down. We could do 12 and 10. And then 6 and 2. 2 and 5. 3 and 2. So we have a pair of 2s, and it looks like we have 3 singles, and that's okay. Couples go out, singles are going to go in. In this case, it's 3 times 2 times 5. That's going to get us 30 on the inside. And then don't forget about that 3 that we're multiplying everything by. I need to bring that down. So this is really, let me move that over. This is really 6 square root of 30. And then let's see, down here we have a few more. So for this one, again, I'll multiply my outside numbers. So 2 times 1 is 2. 15 times 5, let's see, I think that's 75. And then we can break that down. If you think about quarters, We know that's 3/4, so 3 times 25. And then the 25 we can break into 5 and 5. So we have a couple of 5s and a single 3. Couples go out, singles stay in. And then I'll bring down my 2. So this ends up being 10 square root of 3. All right, and so for the last two, I threw in some negatives, but it really doesn't change things. Same rules. Outside times outside gives us -6. Inside times inside gives us 28. And we can simplify that. Two numbers that multiply to give us 28, we can use 7 and 4. And then we can break that into 2 and 2. We'll circle our pairs, underline our singles. And let's see, couples go out, singles stay in. And we'll just bring down our -6. And so this is -12 square root of 7. And this last one, it's really a 1 right here. So 4 times -1 is -4. And then we have 8 times 24. I'm breaking out my calculator. It's going to be 192. Okay. And then right away, since we ended up doing 8 times 24 to get that number, we know those are two factors that we could use. Let's see, for 8, we could do 2 and 4, 2 and 2. For 24, we can use 4 and 6, 2 and 2. This is a really big factor tree, so make sure you're writing legibly. Okay, let's see. 1 pair of 2s, 2 pair of 2s, 3 pair of 2s, and a single 3. So 2 times 2 times 2 gives us 8. 3 goes on the inside. And then I finally have to bring down this -4. So -4 times 8 is -32. And then I'll attach that square root of 3.